Welcome to Otafest. So hope you guys came out to opening ceremonies. There, you would have seen a lot of our amazing guests, including the two that are seated right here. So, first of all, to my immediate right, your left, we have Meg Turney. And to her left, we have Jessica Marzipan. I'm going to try it next to you. So, just a couple of quick things before we begin. First of all, my name's Sean. I'm going to be the moderator for this. And basically, just a couple of quick guidelines. Should be pretty common sense. First of all, please do remember that this is a family-friendly convention, and any questions that are really inappropriate will not be tolerated. You might be asked to leave, that kind of thing. Just don't ask anything that's really, out of line. That would just kind of mess up everyone's day. Secondly, I would really appreciate it if you guys would just ask one question at a time. I want to make sure and give everyone an opportunity to ask a question. If we go through it and everyone's asked one and you have a second one afterwards, then we'll come back around to you. I think that's pretty much it. So you guys want to say anything before we begin?
Nope. 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 Is it on? Yay. No. Good. You guys can ask questions. This is for you to ask questions.
Yeah. I just feel like we're about to hold class right now. That's my only thing. I'm like, don't cheat on you. Don't look at each other's papers. That's it.
Duly microphone.
We have mics. We are. Yeah. No, just welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
You can, some people.
Raise your hands, you guys have a question, and we'll start. Come on.
Anybody?
Stop. We have a signing. The end.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, well, I'm not really big into anime. I'm kind of new, so I wanted to know, how did you guys start your anime experience? How did you?
Tsunami? Woo! Right? Like, I feel like that was most kids in America, at least, and I'm sure Canada. Did Canada have Tsunami? Yeah. All right. Mixed reviews, apparently. But basically, that's how I got started. I was just watching like poorly dubbed American anime.
Yeah, I started with like Gateway. Now I have to censor myself because I was like, oh wait, family friendly. Gateway substances. Like Pokemon, like Speed Racer, even though last night I was like, I hate Speed Racer. I'm sorry, I still don't really care for Speed Racer. Like, you watch Speed Racer and you're like, wow, no one is moving in the entire scene except for the monkey. They didn't even bother animating them for a full I counted, it was a full minute and they're all just like, they don't even blink. The monkey's just spastic. And
it's like the best budget anime of all time.
So bad.
It was one dude in his apartment. Like, I didn't animate anyone for 60. No one will notice.
No one will notice. Just go on.
There you are.
So watch things like Speed Racer and Pokemon and Digimon and Hamtaro.
Ham-hams for sure.
Little Hamsters.
Who's your favorite ham-ham?
Which is the girl with the flower
Is it
crown.
Bijou?
Yeah, Bijou.
Bijou? She was a good one. Love the ham-hams.
Yeah, Hamtaro. And Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
So I got into those. Then when I became an adult, I started watching things like Ghost in the Shell. I worked for BioWare for a little while, and I did a partnership with Funimation, who are here. And you guys should go talk to them. And so they made some BioWare animes. They've made one for Mass Effect and Dragon Age. And we could talk forever about what we think about those. But I learned a lot about anime. So I think that anime is everywhere. And oh my god, you guys look so cute. And I used to think I didn't know anything about anime, and I realized very recently that I know about anime, but there's so much anime that no one knows everything about anime.
Anyone? Any questions? Oh, hello.
Hi. When it came to cosplay, what is your favorite, and do you have any future cosplay in mind?
I think every cosplayer has a future. There's like a never-ending list of future. I'm gonna do that. My favorite is always, people like to say favorite is the one you just finished, but for me the favorite is the next one I'm gonna do after the one I just finished. Because I'm already like, I got the shoes and I'm ready and I'm Googling. Like, I'm always like excited for the next project. I I'm almost done if my bag makes it with Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. So I'm mostly really excited about Captain Toad. It'll be really great.
Nice. Yeah. I saw your tweet about the backpack that.
Yeah, that I put in my Amazon cart and I didn't check out with. Yeah, no, it's fine. I got one at Target. It's cool.
She's like the road to make it, and
oh yeah, always.
yeah.
I've been doing. You've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. It's still this. Yeah, every single time. I still have like bits of costumes from like 4 years ago that I'm like, I'm gonna do that someday. But first I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. Someone was telling me, they were like, you can do cosplay for really cheap. And I was like, no, you can, except for when you screw up and then you have to get rush shipping and then it costs like 5 times as much. Or when you screw up and you have to go buy a bunch of materials and do it a lot. So cosplay can be really cheap until you do this thing.
Until you actually do cosplay.
Or until you buy a crazy Lolita dress and you have to work a bunch of weekends to pay for it. You took the words right out of my mouth. This is my favorite right now, and I didn't even make this. And I just want to say, you don't have to make your own costume to be obsessed with it. This is my favorite thing in the world because A, it's super comfortable, and B, it's beautiful, and C, I didn't have to cry over sewing it.
Yeah.
So I love it, and I'm supporting, you know, an art company out there. So support local artists and commissions, and don't make people judge you for not making your own costume if you didn't. It's super fun to get in the garage and poison myself when I forget to wear a respirator, but you know, you don't have to do that. But I've got a giant list of costumes, and like 3 years from now, someone will be like, I thought you were gonna make that one costume that you said 3 years ago you were gonna make. I'm like, eventually I will, someday.
I'll be 80 and be like, finally got Racing Greenway done. No, I second the not having to make it to love it, because I have a Mesmer costume from, it's like it's from Guild Wars 2. I almost said Gears Wars 2 because I just did a Gears of War story at work. Anyway, it's a really beautiful, like a Mesmer outfit that they actually did for me. I did a video for the company behind Guild Wars, and it was a really awkward video, but they made me this really great costume, and I still wear it because it's gorgeous. Anyone else? Question? Hey!
For one, I absolutely love you too. You're my role models.
Aww, thank you!
But do you have any tips for future people who want to cosplay?
Just do. Like, honestly. I've been doing this for 14 years and I still learn things that I should have known so long ago. Like, my hat is the first time I ever played with epoxy sculpt. Like,
oh yeah?
Yeah, I'd never played with it. I'm like, man, this is awesome. And it just took me, it was really intimidating to be like, I should know how to use epoxy sculpt, so I'm just not even gonna do it. But then when you do it, like mixing it together and making this hat, I was like, this is fun. And I already have learned so much, and I already look at it and I'm like, can't wait to do version 2 of that. You know, like just going out and doing, you learn so much more. Tutorials are everywhere. You can learn how to do anything on the internet, but you can't learn how to do without doing.
Don't compare yourself with other people, because the only person you're in competition with is yourself. Even if you're in a costume contest, the only person you're competing with is yourself to, you know, do better than you did at your last competition, to, you know, if you're building your cosplay on social media, you're just building your own followers. Don't look at other people's followers. And that was actually something that I learned very recently, because I was reading some kind of like how to be a blogger online, and I think I just went through like the wormhole of the internet, and I was like, how did I get here? I don't even have a blog. I don't know why I was reading like tips to be a blogger, but she was talking about how she used to compare herself to all her other blogging friends and was like, oh, they're doing so much better than me, and you know, they're getting more views. And I was like, that's such an important thing, because even outside of cosplay, you know, and Meg does this as well, a lot of like online videos, and I just started my own Twitch channel, Jessica Marzipan. And I go to conventions, and I'm always trying to teach myself new cosplay techniques. But as soon as you look at someone else doing something and you're like, oh, they did that so much better than me, I'm not even gonna try, then you've just like screwed yourself over before you even had the chance to succeed at something. So that is something that I've just recently gotten very zen with myself about, that the only person I need to challenge myself against in the epic pokey battle of life is like mirror bizarro me. That me of the past is constantly one-upping myself. And so until you just forget about everyone, be like, I'll never be better than Yaya Han. Like, whatever, like Yaya is in her own universe with like her McCall's bodysuit, which by the way, you should go get it, it's really cool, I got one. I don't think I've paid her for it yet though, so maybe I don't have one. But the costumes that I made in 2005 were so much different than the ones that I make now. And I'm still proud of the ones that I made back then. And I actually think some of the ones that I made back then, I'm like, wow, I don't know why I am making this so difficult now with all of these crazy elaborate techniques when I could just use some hot glue like I did back then and go to Michael's. Yeah. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater either. That's, you know.
Hot glue. Got a hot glue gun in my bag that's lost somewhere, but I have a hot glue gun always. Gotta get back to your roots. Anyone? Oh, hello.
What do you guys think are the pros and cons of making your own cosplay?
I think the obvious pro is the sense of accomplishment you get when somebody is like, oh my gosh, Bulma, and you're like, hey, it's me. Just hope there's not another Bulma behind you. Awkward. Next time. I mean, obviously that's the pro. The con, I think, to making your own costumes is you get that self-doubt immediately. Everybody gets it. I mean, I know cosplayers who are, you know, world famous who still look at something and say like, crap, I did this thing and it was awful. And they feel bad about it, and then they just move on, you know? So it's just so easy to let yourself be like, this isn't good enough, or this doesn't look exactly like this. And you're trying to match something where, a universe where physics doesn't exist, where, you know, they can just draw something and it just could never be physically possible, and you have to try and bring that to life. So I think it's a big con just to get down on yourselves.
I've noticed recently that it used to be a huge positive thing that I know my giant mantra, well, my mantra was keep calm and cosplay on, which now I kind of wish that wasn't because it seems kind of silly. But my other mantra is like cosplays for fun and, you know, just go out and have fun. But now all of a sudden that whole like cosplays for fun, cosplay is a hobby, I've noticed recently like that's almost become this weird slur, like, oh, well, it's just a hobby. Like, don't take it so seriously, it's just a hobby. And because you're pouring your heart into it, I think that that's a huge disservice for people being like, well, it's just a hobby, it's a luxury, you can live without it. And I think that when you are making your own costumes, you're making art, it's art production. You're creating a walking piece of artwork that you could just, you know, tack up a little nail and hang yourself up on the wall. But people don't see that as much when they're saying like, oh, well, it's just a hobby. You can live without it. And I don't think that you would say that to Van Gogh. I mean, he cut off his ear for his crazy art, and probably he, you know, there were lots of other reasons that he did that. But he was doing it for a hobby. He didn't sell, he sold like 2 paintings in his whole life. It was a hobby what he was doing. And he got loads of disparaging comments. But what he was doing was art. And when you're making costumes, you're making art. And to me, that's an amazing positive. And when you're buying costumes, you're supporting someone else's artwork. So that, I think, is one of the most gratifying things for me when I create something, is that I'm contributing to a piece of artistry that is fulfilling for myself. And I think the con to that is unfortunately that this is still something that because we say it's just for fun and blah, 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 as trying to make the cosplay community more positive, it's somehow turned into this also backspun negative thing. So I think that's negative. And also I totally agree that sometimes people are too hard on themselves. I've totally been a perfectionist. There's tons of costumes that I've never finished because I get stuck and I don't know how to finish them, and because I want to do it myself and I don't know a skill, it just doesn't go anywhere from there. And that's totally when you just need to bite the bullet and get help from a friend who does know how to finish it.
Yeah, and I think when the old school, what I would consider the old school cosplay, and it's not like an old person, but back in my day, it was a huge deal to make your own costume. It was like if you bought a store-bought costume, it was like, this nerd has like a store-bought costume. What? Like, it was like the laughing stock. Now nobody cares. It's like you see groups like the Star Trek bunnies. Castle Corsetry made all of those costumes. Yeah. So like it seemed like nobody, like I feel like 10 years ago it would have been like, one girl made them, good job guys. You're just models, you know? But now nobody cares. It's like, oh, that's cool. And they kind of move on, which I think is kind of a pro now, around this time. Right. Anyone else? Oh, hi.
Hi, I was just wondering, how did you guys get into the cosplay? Like, you guys watched the anime, but how did you decide that you wanted to start dressing up and making costumes?
I had always dressed up. I was always into fairy tales and make-believe, and I always had a little costume trunk when I was a kid, and I got really, really into spirit days at school. And I went to run fairs, I did theater as a kid, and then I think my friend Holly told me my senior year of high school, there's this thing called Comic-Con that we can go to, and you don't have to wait until you're cast as a role in a play to dress up and go weird people out in public, which is what I used to do. I used to just stay in my costume and we'd go to the coffee shop and freak everyone out, or stay in our run fair clothes and just be like, what? Where are you getting pizza? What? So I think discovering conventions like this is what made me realize what cosplay was. For a long time, we didn't call what we were doing cosplay. We were just like, no, we're dressing up in costumes. Cosplay this is an anime thing. We didn't really make anime costumes, mostly because sewing involved a lot of things where you messed up, you screwed it up, and I messed up a lot of sewing projects. But finally we were like, oh, okay, actually this isn't that big of a deal. And I think that that came with a lot of like the downfall of elitism in cosplay, and it's like, oh, okay, actually everyone's doing this. It is cosplay, what we're doing, and just have fun and go out and teach everyone. And that also came with the rise of people actually talking about what they were making, because when we first started, no one was sharing their tips, and no one was doing, no one was doing any tutorials. So yeah, and that's how I got started.
Very vaulty back in the day. Yeah, so that's so weird. I never even thought about that. Like the rise of tutorials and everything else is like unheard of back in the day. It's funny because I actually started doing the freak people out in my costumes after I started cosplaying. I wear like my Chun-Li bun covers, like, and I had someone ask me if I was Amish once, like it's weird, like double Amish. Love doing stuff like that. But I actually went to the tiniest, I think there were maybe 150 people at this convention. It was called UshiCon 1 in Austin, and it was in a hotel that was like maybe 60% people who weren't with the convention, so it was like a bunch of people just like looking around like we were idiots. And I showed up in a dress. My mom brought me back from Cambodia. It was like oh man, I don't want to say what it looked like because there's a photo somewhere online someone could find. I've gone back to look at like my old cosplay to see if anyone could find it one day. You could, it's there. You know where to look. So thankfully nobody knows where to look yet.
I just like now want to start like listing off. I'm like Live Turtle, Zanga.
Oh yeah. It's actually actually, you know what, never mind. All right. Maybe
by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it. Anyway, I wore this dress, and I just saw everybody else in like actual costumes, and was like, I want to be these people. So then I started cosplaying, and I literally, oh my gosh, I'm doing Sailor Heavy Metal Papillon for Fan Expo Dallas in 2 weeks, and Joellen made my wings. They're beautiful, and that's something where like I never could have finished that costume by myself because those wings are incredible. And I tried to make that costume myself, my very first costume for A-Con in Dallas, which was like 2 months after Ushicon. And I hot glued everything together, and I didn't have any wings, I didn't have a wig, I didn't have contacts, I had nothing. I had like maybe 40% of a costume. I was like, ta-da! Very into myself, my costume. But now, like, I'm gonna go back and do the same costume again you can always improve. But that's really how I got into it. It was a lot of hot glue and a lot of just really bad cosplay. And then just doing and redoing and doing again.
This is a question for Meg. Are there any plans for you to be involved with Ruby or Reverend's anytime?
So there were plans for me to be a character in Ruby. Monty used to come to my desk and talk to me about how he wanted to incorporate me in the show. But when you work with Monty, you hear an idea and then you don't hear anything for a year, and then the idea is suddenly in motion. Obviously, sadly, that's not going to happen. The character could still happen. I don't know. But I kind of don't want it to, because I kind of only want it to be what Monty wanted it to be. So I don't know. Penny is in the show. My dog is in the show, and I feel like that's an awesome enough contribution. I actually, at a Q&A panel, ruined the fact that she was going to be in the show. I had to text Monty and be like, I'm so sorry. He didn't care. He was like, oh yeah, hype it up. Who cares? But yeah, Penny's in the show. For RBB, I haven't heard anything. Honestly, RBB ends up being something where, and same with like X-Ray and Fab. I'm like 6 voices in X-Ray and Fab, but they're all like lady in crowd and like alarm woman. Nothing hard, but it's just if you're at your desk when someone needs somebody in the whisper room, that's how you get a part sometimes. So, got my X-Ray and Fab parts, holding out for RBB. Anyone? I feel like I keep awkwardly being like, quit.
Hopefully, it's okay if I ask this, but what's your most embarrassing con story?
Most embarrassing con story. Oh my god, do you know?
I got a good one.
I'll think about mine.
Oh yeah, no, it's cool. There is a bear body part in it. Yeah, alright. Comic-Con 2012, I think, 12, 13. I was Slave Leia. I was wearing the Leia's metal bikini, and that skirt is 4 little clips. And if one of them fails, the entire skirt fails. There's also the way that you wear underwear in that costume is it is snapped in the front and then snaps into the back plate. So if any of the clips fail, the underwear also fails. A smart person would have been like, safety pins, whatever, I'm gonna lock it down. I did not lock it down. I was eating a hot dog, I can't make that part up, in the grass by a hotel next to the convention center. I joyously lifted my body after my delicious hot dog, and my skirt failed. And thankfully, my cameraman was with me, and we just done a bunch of interviews, had the great sense to catch my butt plate, like into my butt. Like, there were suddenly 2 hands on my butt, but I had caught the front plate. So thankfully, only my cameraman saw the whiteness that lives behind me. And it was horrifying, and I'll never, ever, ever wear that costume again.
So I have 2, only because one you've technically already seen if you've seen Heroes of Cosplay. So I feel, has anyone seen Heroes of Cosplay? Okay, so a few people. The first one, I think I'm pretty good at interacting with celebrities. I have to deal with them a lot for various work things. But at Comic-Con one year, I was passing out flyers for like the Reaper invasion for Mass Effect, join the Resistance. And Doc Hammer, who is the co-creator of Venture Brothers, he's this very tall, slender man guy. And he has like, he's so recognizable if you know who he is. He has like kind of black and white hair because it's some kind of disease that he has, and everyone thinks it's fake, and he's like, no, it's real, this is what my hair looks like. He walks by, and for some reason, he is like my one celebrity crush that I just can't handle. He's just so talented, and he's just got this slim, chiseled face. So he walks by, I scream and throw all the flyers. It was awful. The other one was they said it was I got like an allergy on the show, which they said that because we didn't actually know what happened, but later my doctor told me that I had a very severe migraine because my wig that I made from scratch, and I was very proud of myself, was too tight on my head, and I got a very severe migraine. And also the falafel that I had eaten probably didn't help. I was in Houston for an anime convention, and it was one of my first anime conventions, and thankfully I've been to more since then, and I know that anime conventions are not like this con. It smelled of teriyaki chicken and Chick-fil-A, and it was awesome. It was a hotel con. So there was one elevator up to these 30 floors, and everyone was using them. It took 30 minutes to get to your room. It was awful. There were a lot of little kids, like 13-year-olds, all in kigurumis, just everywhere, eating their Chick-fil-A or teriyaki chicken. I'm dressed in a Cats the Musical costume, because it was one of those, I've always wanted to make this costume ever since I went to London and realized that Cats cosplay is a thing that you can do. And I went to the forum and I did it. But our version was Cats the Memesicle, and my friend Holly was Grumpy Cat, and I was Maru the Box Cat. And no one got it, because I was like, I'm going to an anime con, this is like totally like internet culture, this is gonna be great, and no one got it, and I was like, whatever. So I don't need to please you. I'm doing this for me. We had like a toast that we made, a giant toast that we breaded ourselves, and we had a Pop-Tart, and we became Neon Cat. It was awesome, but I became very violently ill, and the camera crew, who happened to be filming us, and I signed away my life to agree for them to film us. They were like very worried about me. I start like laying down on the ground like this shriveled cat in the corner. Holly, who is not a very touchy-feely person, she brings me a small orange to suck on and like starts stroking my back. So just imagine Grumpy Cat like stroking Maru the Box Cat. None of this is on the show. And then I realize I'm not gonna be okay. I'm gonna have a hairball. One of our producers, her name was Susan, she was very sassy. And Marco, who was very sassy, and he was done with the con. He was like, unsubscribed. That was literally what he said. He was like, I'm unsubscribed from this con. Like, this dinner, unsubscribed. Unsubscribed. Yes, please do. It's great. Unsubscribed. Do the hand every time. Yeah. So they realize that I am going to be violently ill. Susan runs to get me something to be ill in so that I don't get ill all over the cameras. She comes back and gets me a giant box of Pocky. So I vomit all into the box of Pocky. So it's great because you just imagine this woman dressed up as a cat throwing up into an industrial-sized box of Pocky.
Japan, do you love us yet?
And then we finally got up to our room. My friend is like, hey dude, who's in the elevator, eating his teriyaki chicken in an elevator could you please not do that? My friend just threw up. And he's like, it's cool, someone threw up 30 minutes ago in here. And
it's fine. I've been watching the throw up actually, so and that was report says we're good.
That was my first anime con.
That's amazing. If we're talking about near misses, I once was filming a different show. I was filming oh god, what do they call it? Cosplay Confidential for Nerdist.
Oh yeah.
Do you know Johnny from Nerdist?
Oh, I love Johnny.
Oh, Johnny's great. Don't go drinking with Johnny. Never go drinking with Johnny.
Bad idea.
Such a bad, it was a great idea until it wasn't. And I went out, the mistake I made is I went out on Saturday night, and on Sunday I had to be at a panel and I had to do more of the documentary. But I was ill. I was very ill. I made some bad choices. I mean, a lot too many choices. And so I woke up the next morning, the most hungover I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm like, I'm having hairballs, lots of hairballs. And thinking, oh my god, I have to be at this panel in Elizabeth from Bioshock, so I have a corset that I have to put myself into. I made it into the corset. I did not make it to the panel. Johnny had to go to the panel and say, yeah, Meg's filming with Nerdist. Guess what? I never told anyone I wasn't filming with Nerdist. I was vomiting in my hotel room. But I did make it to film at the convention. So I showed up and I'm like, no, I'm very iffy. And this guy comes over, like this older guy, and he's like, hey, just want to introduce myself. Introduces himself, like shakes my hand, gives me a big hug. Don't touch me right now, it's a bad idea. He gives me a big hug, and he's like, I run this whole convention. And I was, oh, I might vomit on you. I didn't say that. I said,
oh my god, you were at Kansas City, weren't you? Oh my god, I know exactly who you meant.
Yes, so like touchy-feely, yes.
Yeah. Oh my
very
god,
nice,
yeah.
like boisterous man. And I'm like, can you give me just a second? I'm just gonna run to the bathroom. And he was like, oh yeah, of course, no, go ahead. Where my booth was to the bathroom, there was a big empty spot where all the cosplayers stand to take photos. And right about halfway across that empty spot, I thought, this is it. This is the moment that I'm gonna toss my cookies. And there's so many cameras around. There's nothing to be done. And I stopped, and I had like, it's like, you know when something bad happens and it goes in slow motion. This was all very slow motion for me.
Your life passes.
Yeah, for my eyes. I'm literally seeing like Tumblr posts like, Meg Turney vomiting, watch her slow-mo. Like,
just gifs everywhere.
I accepted this was my fate, and I was able to hold on. And I made it past the cosplayers into the bathroom, where there was a line of people waiting to use the bathroom. I skipped the line. I kicked open one of the doors of my Victorian boots, and then I tossed my cookies. So I made it. But I can't imagine what it looked like for anybody else. Like Elizabeth comes storming in the bathroom, just like kicks in a door. It was the most rock star and least professional moment of my life. Lovely. Thank you. Does anyone else have a question that could follow? Oh, hey. Great.
This is for you, Meg. Do you have any news regarding Laser Team? I'm so wondering.
It's coming out. That I do know. I don't know what I am allowed to and not to say. I have a part. It's not a big part, don't worry. It's not a big deal. It's not a big spoiler. I have like a cheeky, like, here I am. It's cut. It's all cut. I'm never gonna be in it. I'm gonna be like in the theater, like, here we go. Oh, it's gone. No, all I know is it's coming out. I don't know when or anything else. Yay. Sorry. Anyone? Hello.
You guys are both in the public eye, and you guys are on Facebook accounts and all that stuff, so what's your personal philosophy on dealing with haters?
Dealing with haters? I have two. One, I kind of have one of those, the internet is like if we made streets and then had absolutely no laws or police or stop signs or traffic lights or anything like that. And also you didn't need a driver's license and you could start driving at whatever age you wanted to. I mean, like when you're driving, everyone, with the very few exceptions, has like flipped someone off or screamed at someone or like even internally like road rage. So sometimes because I am also a community manager for the entertainment industry, so when I have to deal with people for brands, I have to be a little bit more distanced, and I say, okay, perhaps this person's just having a really bad day and I'm catching them in a road rage moment, and tomorrow they will be a perfectly nice person. And there's definitely times where you see people who are trolls and they're like, you know, that was actually really bad of me, I'm sorry, whatever. And those are redeemable people versus the kind of people who are just pure harassers, or the kind of trolls who just do it for fun, or the like stalkery people that you actually need to get like the police involved. So I kind of try to tier it that way to keep myself sane. The other thing I try to do is I try to really support and advocate for things that are taking an open stance on making the internet a better place. And that includes companies like Smart Girls, which are Amy Poehler's company, and she's doing a lot for women and girls and teaching them online behaviors. And also places like I said, I've just started my own Twitch channel, and I love the moderation system on Twitch. It's so much better than YouTube, and I don't know why YouTube is not fixing their problem, or they're just kind of messing with, like, they're like finger painting their comment system. They're just smudging it around. But Twitch has like live moderation, and you can make mods for your channel, and before you even see these nasty comments, your mods just delete it, and you don't even see it, so you get live experience with your community. And it's almost like if someone ran in here right now and just started screaming at the two of us, someone would probably just pull him out, and that would be the end of it. So I like to support...
Here he comes now.
Yeah, here he is, George. So I like to support companies and services that are making a difference, and I like to talk about them and evangelize them as much as I can.
Yeah, I feel much the same way in that a lot of people say don't feed the trolls, but you're a human being. I mean, you have feelings. For me, it's a drive to correct people when they're wrong. Like, I'm one of those really, and I know it's an annoying habit, but I'm one of those really annoying people that if I heard someone in the grocery store being like, did you know water is H1O? I'd be like, it's actually H2O. Like, I'm that person that will like lean in and be like, I'm sorry, you're actually, it's just so you know. Because if I were in the grocery store and be like, oh, H1O, and someone were like, actually H2O, I'd be like, thank you. Now I don't sound like an idiot. Like, I appreciate me, so, like when someone says something wrong, I want you to know that you're wrong. So when someone says something like, you're dumb, or you're a not nice word, okay, whatever, that's subjective. But if they say something like, Meg did this thing that I know is factually inaccurate, then I usually, depending on how sassy I feel that day, I will go in and eviscerate them with knowledge. Yeah, I mean, I pander to the trolls more than I should, I know, but I feel better at night feeling like, well, you know what, I responded how I feel good about, and I'm not furthering the conversation or being nasty, just saying like, here is how you are wrong, and about me or the things that I do or whatever, and then just stick to the facts. And usually, 99% of the time, they come back and are like, really sorry, I never thought you'd see this comment, I just, you know, I was having a bad day. Like, you teach them, you know what I mean? It's like 99 times out of 100, that's what will happen. You'll get one person who goes, that's you, and you'll be like, all right, well, I wasn't gonna convert that person. Hey, you look lovely.
Bit of a water question. Growing up and whatnot, like when you first started cosplay, how did your families react to it? Like, were they really supportive? Were they more like, grow up already?
My grandmother made my first nice costume. She made my Chun-Li outfit for me. And it was, for her, just a way that we could bond. She can sew, I couldn't. She took a piece of paper and looked at it and said, like, that's what you want. She made it with my Halloween costume that year after I started attempting to cosplay. And my family's big nerds. Like my mom and grandma and everybody play WoW together. And so I just came from like, my mom stood in line for Star Wars. Like I'm from that family, so I never had to deal with like grow up. My parents were just like, cool, like this is awesome. So thankfully I never had to deal with that.
My mom is like, she looks a lot like her, but imagine Paula Deen without the race problem.
That's such a nice way of putting it. Like horrible racism, race problem.
Yeah. My mom's from Alabama, and she's a very strong, sassy Southern woman. So, and she's a nerd in her own right. She grew up in the 60s and the 70s, so she's seen all the Star Wars movies in the theater and everything. But you know, she's not going to go out there and like school people on you know, Chewie. But latently, she is a nerd. Actually, her favorite movie, oddly enough, is Heavy Metal, which I think is really funny if you think about heavy metal and then Paula Deen. But so my mom's, my dad died when I was really little. So my mom grew up having a super hard life, and she wanted to make sure that my little sister and I had anything that we wanted within the limitations of us growing up like devastatingly poor. So it was all about having not the resources to do whatever we want, but the creativity and the imagination. So whenever we had, like I said, like the prairie days at school, she was like, I am going to dress you up in my turquoise necklace, and here's a little apron that you can wear, and you look like here's some moccasins that I wore back in the 70s, and they're too big for you, but whatever. So we strapped together outfits and things like that, and she's an artist in her own right. She wanted to be a medical illustrator before she like got pregnant at 16 and had my older sisters. So my mom really, really wanted us to be creative and wanted us to go and create and do things and follow our imaginations, and watched loads of Wishbone and Magic School Bus.
So good.
Yeah. So, you know, I've always been super fortunate that even when she didn't understand, or when she was like, why are you spending thousands of dollars on making an animatronic costume when you have school loans, that underneath it all, she supported it and understood it, because I know that a lot of parents are not that way. And I'm really grateful that, you know, some of the stuff that we've done online have helped kids be like, Mom, Dad, this is what I do. And it has helped families get together and learn things.
Don't ever Google image search me with your parents. That is a bad idea. Please don't. Willing to own up to that. Anybody? Have we finally run out? Oh, yeah.
Jessica,
yeah.
On getting into Lolita fashion, or is this just so one time?
No. This is amazing. I have been wanting to do this this is Angelic Pretty. I got it.
Oh, is this Rinren's line?
Maybe.
I think Rinren is the model for Angelic Pretty.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
This is Enchanted something.
Enchanted Wishbone turkey leg.
It's the fall line, so I got it on sale. I'm learning a lot about Lolita fashion, and I was like, am I being too like scandalous right now? Like, should I have something else right here? So I'm trying to learn a lot. I've been telling my friends, like, I had to go and buy these ridiculously expensive leggings in the airport, because I was like, oh my gosh, you're not supposed to be bare-legged, or so I bought, these are Spanx. I don't really think they're sucking me in that much, actually.
Not very spanky Spanx.
Yeah, they were $40. I was like, whatever. So I don't know, I've always wanted to wear dresses like this. I used to wear dresses like this when I was like 3 years old, so I feel like I'm going back in time, but I'm definitely going to wear more. It's just, these are, I shouldn't be that surprised, because this is about as expensive as a costume that if I made it myself with all of the materials. it just feels very strange outright buying a costume that is this expensive. So I will eventually get over the shell shock of it, because for some reason, buying in small batches all the materials, I never add up the cost, and then it's just somehow like $2,000 later, and I have like this parade float, like Skeksis costume, and I'm like, hooray, I'm a Skeksis! And then I don't look at my bank account, but this, I'm like, oh my god, $600. I need to go do a lot of work and go to a lot of cons and sell a lot of prints. But I love it, and if anyone wants to talk to me about Lolita, please teach me.
Yeah, I was just actually at opening ceremony showing Amanda Mana for Mouse Miser, and I was like, I've always wanted to do this Mana costume. It's a white, he's in this beautiful white dress, he's Mary Jane's her platforms with the blue wig, and he does Lolita better than anyone. I love it, like old school. Mouse Miser probably, like nobody in here remembers Mouse Miser, but in like 2001 they were the shit, believe me. But anyway, that's like that kind of Lolita fashion where it's not, he does it like a twist, like a rock twist that I think would be really cool.
Nice.
Visual K twist. Question? Oh, yes, you had one.
I just had a comment about the Googly thing for you.
Yes.
I was actually telling my friend I was going to be here, right? And they're like, oh, who you mean? Meg Turney, right? So he's like, are you sure she's from YouTube?
That Meg Turney. Will she be wearing pants?
She's like, are you sure?
No, not YouTube. You porn's Meg Turney. I'm not there actually. I'm not on, that's not me on the yeah. Please don't. Not safe for work.
Yeah.
Not safe for parents. What's up?
Do you have any tips for anyone who's cosplaying on a budget?
Yes. Look at your bank account and
say goodbye to it.
Yeah. No, you know, pay attention to what you're buying. Like, build out your costume in terms of like what you want to do first. Don't make it at the last minute, because that's when you get all crazy and rushed, and then you make silly choices. I am a believer in Amazon Prime. I know it's an expense up front, but you will save a ton of money in the long term. And you will also buy, I think, better quality things, because the things that are on Amazon Prime generally, I think, are better than what doesn't ship through Amazon Prime. But sketch out your costume or whatever, say like, okay, here are my pieces. Break out a budget for like what you want to spend. It's just like any other kind of thing. Like if you're getting married, you're like, I want to spend this much on the cake. And then force yourself not to go over those things. Like challenge yourself to do that. And there are some items that you can splurge on and some that you can't. I know there's a few cosplay apps that can help you track your budgets. And there's just, you know, budgeting apps in general, if you don't like the cosplay ones, that will super help you. And, you know, if you can't sew, places like Goodwill are great. I use those a lot. Just don't do it last minute, because you'll scare yourself and then you'll make silly choices.
I agree with that fully. I would also say sometimes it's easier to buy than make, because you have to be honest with yourself about what your skill level is. If you can really make this blazer from scratch, then great. But are you going to spend, oh, well, I really want this heavier weight fabric and God, it's not on sale and it's, you know, $12.99 a yard or whatever, and I don't know if I screw up, but I want to make sure I have 2 yards, and then suddenly you're spending, you know, $30 on fabric when you could have bought a $20 blazer. You know what I mean? You have to take into account everything that you've got going on. And there are certain items you want to splurge on, certain items that you can definitely be cheap with. I think one of the items that people always think that they should splurge on that I don't think they should is shoes. Like, you are going to do so many things to shoes. Get cheap shoes. I mean, obviously things you can walk in that are somewhat comfortable, but you can put boot covers over shoes. You can make shoes, you know, last for a lot of costumes. One of the things I don't think people should skimp on are wigs.
Totally.
Wigs are somewhere I think you can really tell if you skip on a wig.
Yeah.
What? And contacts. Oh, you have to be careful with contacts. I think contacts are their own. I think everyone after, what was it, Comic-Con last year where that girl like ripped her retina off and then everyone, that's real. It really happened. There were photos.
Oh yeah.
That went everywhere and everyone was afraid for a very long time.
I throw my contacts away after I use them.
I do too.
I use them once. I get all of mine from, what is it, Pinky Paradise?
Yep, same. I get mine from Pinky Paradise.
And I throw them away after one use. And I usually wear them for like one con day and then I throw them away.
It's worth it. They're cheap on Pinky Paradise. I believe that's actually where the girl got hers from. So, you know, proceed with caution. But
Bring some eye drops.
Yeah, I think I'm on my 5th pair of blue contacts. Like I will wear them for a con weekend, if I have 2 back-to-back maybe, but if I've worn them for maybe 2 cons, they're probably garbage. Like I just throw them away all the time because you don't want, like, and I'm also really, I used to be really driven. I remember when I did my Zatanna cosplay, those red contacts sucked and I wore them for like 13 hours. Because I was really driven back then to be like, no, she has red eyes, I brought the contacts, I'm gonna wear them now. If they put them in and I sucked up, I'd be like, no red eyes today. Like I just don't have that, like, all right, well, I'm not gonna have red eyes, sorry. I'm not gonna risk my eyes anymore.
Take a photo shoot and then Photoshop it later.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that's actually, I'm doing Lady Sylvanas from World of Warcraft, and she has these beautiful red sclera contacts is what I would need, but I've only seen horrible things about sclera contacts. Like, got a regular pair of red contacts, we'll use Photoshop. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Scleras are really scary, and people ask me about them all the time, and honestly, I'm like, I can't recommend any website that I am not afraid for you for.
Right, like they're something you can't skimp on. You have to be specially fitted for them. Like they're just way too scary. I also want to do Spirit Healer from World of Warcraft, and they have yellow scleras or what I would need for it, and I'm like, Photoshops. Yeah, Photoshops.
Hello. Just in regards to contacts, you have glasses. How do you get by with not wearing them?
So Pinky Paradise offers prescription contacts, so I know my prescription. I'm, negative 1.25 and negative 0.5 or 1.5 or whatever, and so I order that from Pinky Paradise. Yep. What I do have some pairs that don't have any prescription, like they were out of prescription or something, so I don't have them, and those are the worst. Because like not only do I have like color like in my vision, but I also, that's why Amanda will lead me around by my, Amanda helps me with everything, including living. Did you have a question?
What was your influence or role model for cosplaying?
My role model for cosplay. When I started, you know what, Yaya's first guest appearance was my like 2nd convention or something, a 3rd convention. So I feel like I've not come up with Yaya like on her level, never, but like matured with Yaya through her cosplay. Yeah. But Joellen Alam is another girl who was in cosplay around the same time. She doesn't do cosplay anymore. She has a wings company and a commission company called Firefly Path. But she was on the same level, I would say, of like fame as Yaya at that time. And so
I was obsessed with her stuff.
She's
and I didn't know who she was.
Incredible. And she used to cosplay before I came back, and I met Joellen just through friends. I was like, oh, you look so familiar, but you're not that girl. I don't see your sister anywhere. It must not be the girl with a sister. And finally, I put 2 and 2 together, which is the creepiest thing. I don't see your sister. It can't possibly be that person. But those 2 were definitely my role models coming up in cosplay.
When I first started making stuff, a lot of my friends were in the haunted house industry, so I learned from a lot of them. But I would say someone who was kind of, known and doing stuff would probably be Volvin Props. He was someone that kind of, again, he was getting well known around the same time that we were, and it was someone that we could look to and say like, okay, that's a guy who's doing cool stuff, and we can emulate like the idea of, he was one of the first people who was actually sharing his knowledge. He wasn't publishing full builds for free, but he was sharing his knowledge base Also, the League of Steam was doing a lot of things, and they still do. And that was back, that was back when we dabbled in steampunk and no one knew what steampunk was that much. And we were like, we didn't even call ourselves steampunk. We were like, we're airship pirates. And everyone thought I was Tank Girl, and I was like, no. And then that actually inspired me to be Tank Girl, because it was like, what's Tank Girl? And then I went out and read Tank Girl, and I was like, this is amazing. And Mad Max and things like that. So yeah, I'd say League of Steam and Volpin were amazing people who were super involved in like the RPF.
I feel like we've been talking for like 4 hours. Oh, we have 4 minutes left.
We have 4 minutes. Time for, yep.
How are you enjoying Calgary?
Freaking love Calgary. Look, I wasn't joking. Alberta is my favorite place in Canada. Love Alberta. Please, like, bring me back anytime, you guys. For anything. Just be like, Jessica, come for a rodeo, and I'll be like, sure, why not?
There's a lot of cowboy hats coming in here. A lot of cowboy hats.
I brought some cowboy boots.
Anyone else? Yeah.
This one's from Meg. How traumatized is Patrick after drawing you and Ryan in his dungeon?
Traumatized? He had the privilege of drawing us in ours, and he decided to draw that. The conversation, for those of you, I'll let you in on the joke. I started a pilot at Rooster Teeth called Free Play. It's basically just like a variety show that we do. And we did an episode in which Brandon and Blaine were arguing about Star Wars, whether you should know everything about the movie coming out or whether you should avoid information. This devolved, when we were waiting, actually setting up, into a conversation about would it be better to be a Jedi or a Sith, because a Sith doesn't have to worry about abusing his powers, and he can use the Force for anything, and a Jedi is not allowed to abuse his powers. And so Brandon said that he would use his Force powers in a very naughty bedroom type way. And Blaine said, then Blaine started talking about love being allowed in like a Jedi land. Like Blaine like branched off into love for some reason. Why did you bring love into it? But anyway, we played this for Patrick and then let him decide what he was going to draw. Just draw anything based on that. And he drew me Force choking my co-host in a naughty situation. It was PG. It was like a PG photo, but it was the implication was there. I don't think he's traumatized. I think, first of all, he made the decision to draw it. Second of all, he works at Rooster Teeth, so probably the nicest thing he drew all day. Yeah.
Meg, did you finish Katawa Shoujo? Did you finish your playthrough?
I haven't, and I will tell you that I am horribly upset that someone lied to me about being able to have two of the ladies at the same time. That's not a lie you tell someone. You don't tell someone that this can happen and then snatch it away. But I'm going for Emmy for sure. I love Emmy. She's very spunky. So, and I think a lot of people, we joked a lot about Katawa Shoujo on the game club, and people got kind of offended by that. They thought we were making fun of the game, but actually every single one of us who played it was like, I still think I'm gonna go through and finish my playthrough. Like, we all actually enjoyed the experience, so. I know. You know, the autoplay didn't work for me, like where it just takes you to the decisions. It wasn't working for me, so it was taking a long time. What's up?
It only works if you play through that already. So like multiple
Oh, that sucks. What if it's like I have a job and like I literally was playing it like.
That is your job.
I literally had it like my work computer, and then my personal laptop was like Katawa Shoujo, and then like my work computer, and I'd be like spacebar, 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 and then I'd like write a script and spacebar. Anyone else? Last question, I think maybe before we wrap it up. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Speaking of Ryan, I only heard like a little bit of it. But what was the dream you had where you saved me?
This dream has become more famous than I could have ever made it. And I don't even, at this point, oh, it was, I was in a frat house. I remember there was a frat party. People were drinking and I was upset and I wanted to leave. I don't know where Gavin was. And Ryan saved me. And honestly, when I woke up, I told my boyfriend I had this weird dream about one of his coworkers. And And I was like, oh, it's so weird. Ryan saved me. He was like, oh, no big deal. And then skipped off to work. And now I never hear the end of this damn dream. That I will say that I warned Ryan. He was like, oh, I'm going to bring it up to Let's Play. And I warned Ryan. I saw him that morning before he went in. I was like, Ryan, heads up, yeah, I'm going to bring up this dream, pretend I've already been telling you about it, and like play it up a little bit. So we played it up a little bit. Thank you guys. I think that's it, yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for all of your questions.